How about the DNA health program going on?
Master, what is the question?
Your DNA health program?
Our DNA program, Pastor, is still uh, working and good. Some churches, they doing DNA 12.
Okay.
Mm. And some of churches have people who graduate in DNA 12.
Actually, we will have seminar October, Pastor, in other
Sorry,
province here in Philippines.
sorry, I didn't got you.
We will have seminar.
Okay, you're going to have seminar in relation to
Yes.
DNA health, right? Okay, that's good. That's good. So, and then have you all completed your DNA health program? Three of you?
Now we are teaching
You're teaching now, right?
all of us.
So, what do you teach?
The four books, because in DNA, the discipleship system has four books. The first one, Ian was the one who created that one, the 12% for Christian. Then also the second one, the Bible formation. And the third one is Promises of God, the book of Houses Door. And the last is Gospel and Kingdom, the four books.
All right. Teach well, okay?
Yes, Pastor.
Gil, would you kindly pray for the class?
Yes, Pastor. Okay, let's pray. Father Heaven, we thank you for this time that we will learn through class the history of the development of the advancement of technology at the same time with the religion. Holy Spirit, may you help us to acquire, to absorb the learning that we need to learn. And we pray that the connection and the internet will be stable so we can do it we can study smoothly on Lord. Our heaven say praise his name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Okay. All right. Today we will see a new topic, that is new religious movement. New religious movement, or the NRMs. Okay. New religious movement and contemporary spiritualities. Today we will see. Okay. So first, let me share my screen to you all. Let's have interactive class today. Okay. All right. Is it clear? Visible?
Yes, Pastor. Yes, Pastor.
Okay. Who will go first? Lander, you read? First point, new religious movement, worldview
Yes.
from the introduction part.
New religious movement, NRMs, and contemporary spiritualities. New religious movements and contemporary spiritualities are dynamically popularized trends in modern religion all over the world, which is both a response to globalization and at the same time a trend of the diversifying spiritual life beyond institutionalized forms. These topics are essential to religious change in an interconnected, secular, and pluralized world. New religious movements, NRMs, worldview, definition and scope. NRMs are religious or spiritual organizations that have fairly new foundations and are not related to the dominant religions in society. They can be generated either separately, splinter groups, or in reaction to contemporary contemporary social, cultural, and technological developments. International appeal. NRMs often include international features so that they fit well into local settings, though keeping global contacts. Such are the Hare Krishna movement, Scientology, Baha'i faith, and neo-paganism. Response to modernity. NRMs respond to secularization and modernization by either emphasizing individualism or offering communities which are tightly bound, in some cases, with elements or more than one religious group or syncretism. Types across cultures, world-affirming movements devoted to personal betterment in the contemporary world. Example, Brahma Kumaris or Church of Scientology. World-rejecting movements advocate withdrawal or other communities occasionally along apocalyptic lines. Example, Aum Shinrikyo, Children of God. World accommodating movements focus on individual spirituality with no extreme social change. Example, Osho movement. Syncretic and eclectic NRMs combined with the faiths. Example, Theosophical Society. The effect of globalization, the growth of communication and traveling has led to increased dissemination of NRMs, making them become transnational movements and adjust to the differences in societies.
Okay. See, NRMs, this new religious movement and contemporary spiritualities, they are fresh and then popular trend in religion today, spreading around the world. They arise because our world is more connected than ever, right? It's a globalization. So, and many people are searching for the spiritual meaning beyond the traditional churches, temples, or in the mosques, in the mosque, right? So this means, religion is changing in exciting and then in a very diverse way. So here, what are new religious movements? If you see the definition here, these new religious movements are religious or spiritual group now founded relatively recently. So they are not part of the big or well-known religions like Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism, but instead, they often start a new groups or break away from existing religions. So they usually respond to the modern social and then technological changes around us here. So imagine if a group of people today they created a new way of worship or new spiritual practices because they felt that traditional religions didn't meet their need or answer their question about life. So this would be an example of an NRM start. You getting the definition?
Yes, okay.
Okay. So here in the second point, if you see the international appeal, see, many NRMs are not just local, they spread internationally, adapting to local churches. I mean, not churches, adapting to the local cultures, but while staying connected globally. Like example include there is a, Hare Krishna movement. Okay, Hare Krishna movement, it is, I think it started from India, it seems. So, and then this Hare Krishna movement is not only in India. It has been, even in the other countries also, like group of people who follow this Hare Krishna movement. Okay, and then the Scientology, the Baha'i faith, and then the neo-paganism. See, think about how ideas travel easily today via the internet, and then it travels, right? So NRMs use these tools to grow big and then diverse, fitting into different cultures, but staying, the part of a bigger global family. Okay, that is the international appeal here. And then here we have response to modernity. Or how do this new religious movement respond to the modern life? See, the NRSM, they respond to the more, the modern world's challenges like the rapid social change, or secularism in two main ways. The first one is emphasizing individualism, means focusing on personal spiritual growth and freedom. And second one is creating a strong communities, means offering a tightly knit group, to give belonging and then the support. So sometimes this new religious movement, mix beliefs from different religions and combining the ideas into new spiritual path. So this mixing is called syncretism. Okay? Any thought?
No question. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's see the types across the culture. Means types of the NRMs. Here the first point we see is world affirming movement, right? See, this encourage self-improvement and flourishing in the modern world. Okay, like for example, the Brahma Kumaris or the Church of Scientology, like a self-help group, but with the spiritual practice, that help people live a better life. Okay, these are some of the movement. Okay, where they, today we see even in the last class also, like I had shared, right? There are some group of people, who said they are not part of any the religious group, but still then, for their enlightenment, for their spiritual, aspects, right? There's something that they follow, right? So I think we cannot, directly point what they do or what they follow or what kind of a movement that they follow. But here some of the example we see is a Brahma Kumaris or the Church of Scientology. So these groups are like a self-help group, okay, but with the spiritual practice that help people live a better life. And then we see point number 2, the type across the cultures, world rejecting movements. So what does it mean? This often reject the problem of modern society and then may promote withdrawal or alternative communities, sometimes with apocalyptic themes. Okay, like for example, Shingrigyo or the Children of God. See, imagine a group of, a group that believe the current world is going to end soon and prepare its followers by spreading from society. I mean, by separating from society, not spreading. Okay, so that is how, so they often reject the problem of the modern society, and then they always, focus on promoting or withdrawal or, the alternative communities. Okay, so that is, the world rejecting movement here, because here it says they advocate withdrawal or other communities, occasionally, along the apocalyptic line. Okay, and then we have world accommodating movement. I think what are they focus? They focus on personal, spiritual, and inner growth without pushing for major social changes. Like for example, those Osho movement. Yeah. So like meditating or finding peace, inside without trying to change the world. Right. I don't know. There are also some of the practices in the Buddhism, but when they get sick or something like, if they don't take medicine, right? But they fully relied on the meditation. So all this suffering that they caused was because of the desire of all the, worldly materialistic things. So that is how they, they stray away from all the worldly, the pleasures, the comfort life, and then they go and get shelter in the mountain or in the cave, and then their only aspects is read the scripture, meditate upon, and then do the, like sit in prayer, right? And then we have a story, some of them, they even left behind their children and wife, and then, they just, went on to the mountains and then stayed there. Like, for example, we can say the monks, okay, like the monks. So, like meditating, or, they find their peace inside, without trying to change the world, right? But at the same time, they don't, fully, advocate or attach with the materialistic thing. Okay. And then here in the fourth point, we see the syncretic and then the eclectic, NRMs. It's these combined ideas, from many traditions, like creating a new spiritual system. They combine the ideas from some from the Buddhism, some from the Christian teaching, some from here, and then that's how they create a new spiritual system, like the Theosophical Society. So they, like, imagine, mixing, pieces from different puzzle set, to create a new picture. Okay, that feels, right to you. So that is syncretic and then eclectic movement. So here, the effect of globalization means, what does globalization do? See, with better communication and travel, new religious movements, easily spread around the world. And then this make NRMs, transnational, and meaning, they cross border and then the cultures. So they can now appear anywhere, yet, adapt, creatively to the local churches. So if you see some of, reflect back a practical summary here, NRMS, show how people today are searching for new spiritual answer, because the world is changing rapidly. And then they are creative, they are diverse and dynamic. So reflecting the global interconnected nature of our world. So understanding the NRMs, help us see how religion really lives and then grow outside the traditional institution here. For example, here, example to think about, imagine, you can just imagine, you feel that traditional religion, does not answer your question about life or spirituality. Okay. So you find a group online, that combined meditation, personal growth, and community support in a unique way. And then that group might be a new religious movement. Or consider a movement like the Scientology, which offers new ways of understanding the mind and personal progress, combined with the spiritual belief. So this is an example of an NRS, engaging with the modern, identities. Okay. So that is the effect of globalization. Now, next point, the modern spiritualities, the world trend. Yes. Jason.
The modern spirituality, the world trend, indivi- individualism and pluralism. The modern spirituality is usually less concerned with the institutionalized power and promotes a blend of practices of various traditions, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, post-institutional and post-secular change. The trend is now toward the the instit- the institutionalization Juan Vereda, the institutionalization of religions, as well as toward spiritual seeking, individualized and distinctive to each person, known as self-religion or religion, of the true self, in particular in the West or in urban areas across the globe. Cross-cultural exchange. The cross-cultural interaction has had far-reaching influence on modern spiritualities. Asian concepts of religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, have been imported into the Western spectrum. whereas Western philosophies have influenced the Asian new spirituality, Vedanta, Buddhist, Modernist. Wow. Art, science, and social activism, spirituality is practiced in the arts, ecological activism, altered states, and philosophical thinking within or beyond the conventional religious formation. Tolerance and diversity. The international arena promotes religious pluralism, tolerance, and respect to different forms of spirituality due to coexistence and interaction among different cultures
Okay.
and
So
personas.
here, the modern spirituality. What is modern spirituality? See, it refers to new ways where people explore the meaning, purpose, and connection beyond the traditional organized religion. So it is very popular worldwide because it fits today's global, diverse, and then the fast-changing culture. Okay. So here, let's see some of the main characteristics of the modern spirituality here. Here, the first point, it talks about the individualism and pluralism. See, modern spirituality focus on the individual personal journey, rather than on formal religious institution or authorities here. So people often plan different spiritual practices like yoga, meditation, or mindfulness, mixing ideas from the many religions here. So imagine creating your own spiritual routine that helps you feel calm and connected, right? Drawing from whatever tradition, resonate with you. So without having to follow a rigid religious institution. Okay. So that this is one of the characteristic of the modern spirituality, that is individualism and pluralism. And then the next point, it talks about the post-institutional and post-secular change, right? Post-institutional and post-secular changes. See, many people are turning away from the traditional churches or temple to seek spirituality in personal and then in a very unique ways. So this has led to the growth of self-religions, where spirituality is individual and customized here. I think this we often seen in cities and then the Western countries, but spreading, everywhere as people explore identity and then the purpose here. So you can just think of spirituality like a playlist, you make yourself, not a fixed album from one artist, but a mix of, what inspired you personally. Right? Are you getting my point? If you check your phone, you will not find only the one song, right? One genre of the song. There will be gospel, there will be the country song, right? Mix. Right? So because those are your favorite songs. So which are the favorite songs, you just collect and then put it in the playlist, right? So that is post-institutional and post, the secular changes here. Now, next, it talks about the cross-cultural exchange. Spiritual idea flows freely between the churches, freely between the cultures today. Say, Eastern religion like the Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism influence the Western spiritual practices. Today, many of the people are following the practice of this yoga. Yes or no?
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, Pastor.
It is influencing, right? And that is purely about the meditating, you know having a peace of mind, to get the peace of mind. So Western philosophical ideas also shape new spiritual movement in Asia, like the Neo Vedanta. You can check it in the internet here. Okay. So consider how meditation, originally from Buddhism, is now widely practiced in gym and then in offices worldwide as a stress relief practice, like showing how spiritual ideas travel and then adapt globally, right? So this the ideas, change of ideas, cross-cultural exchange of the spiritual ideas, right? We see a lot of stretching from the Buddhism. So I think we are following those ideas. and then we get influenced by that one. Like when we talk about the Buddhism, like we mostly, think of the martial arts and all, right? Yes,
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, Pastor.
For what? Character.
yes. In martial arts, there are a lot of like, especially, controlling our mind, right? Not getting irritated, not getting, the short tempered. But if they feel, a rage, or if they get angry, but they do some kind of, movements, you know, to control their body, and then to control their, to calm down the anger, right? So, sometimes, those 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 are some of the spiritual ideas, that flow, freely between the cultures today. Even in the Christian culture, even in the Muslim, even in the Hindus, right? See, we can consider how meditation, originally from Buddhism, is now widely practiced in the gym, right? Gymnastic, and then in the offices worldwide as a stress relief practice, like showing how spiritual, the ideas, can adapt, travel globally, right? So that is the modern spirituality here. Another point it talks about is art, science, and social activism. Spirituality find, expression through art, music, ecological activism, and altered states of consciousness beyond the formal religion. So it also inspired philosophical and scientific inquiry about the life, about the mind, and then the nature here. So people might engage in spiritual activism by protecting the environment as a sacred duty, or create music, that expresses spiritual emotions, showing spirituality's, pro-rich here. Right. So that is how we find our spirituality, right? Our spirituality, we find the expression, through all this art, music, and then the ecological activism. Now, if you see the tolerance and then the diversity here, tolerance and diversity. The global context, encourages respect and acceptance of many forms of spirituality, right? Since many cultures and worldview interact, pluralism and tolerance, grow as a peaceful way to live together. Yes or no? See, you just imagine, or you can just picture out communities where people celebrate, in India, we celebrate Diwali, like especially mostly, the Hindus. And then for the Christian, we celebrate, Christmas, right? And then there are a lot of, traditions, festivals like the Ramadan for the Muslims, and traditional local festival, side by side. So respecting different spiritual path. So we need to respect that one. So that is, in the modern society, we are, we live in a mixed cultural community, right? Do you have any Indians out there in the Philippines?
Yes, Pastor. Amen.
So have you ever come across, the Indians, people celebrating Diwali? Diwali is a festival of light where, they put, the light, kind of a candle in their doorstep, or that's how with that light, they decorate their home. They, use the crackers. Have you ever come across that kind of a festival that the Indians are celebrating?
Yes, Pastor.
Yeah,
Near
that is a
our house.
yeah, that is a Christmas for them. So when they celebrate that one, what we do, you never go, and then you never like condemn them, right? Yes or no?
Yes, Pastor.
Because we are living in a very modernized world, so we understand. Rather we are also happy. We join in their happiness, right? And then even in the Christmas also here, during the Christmas, what we do, we share food, not only to the poor and needy people, but also to the non-religious, non-Christian also. When we see, they are also happily, they come and join in the church activities, because in the Christmas, during the Christmas time, we have a lot of activities in the church and then in the communities, right? So that is how, even they come and then, even they celebrate with us. They join, with our happiness. So that is how respecting each other's, the practices, religion, right? So here in summary, modern spirituality is about like personal meaning. Okay, I think, yeah, we can put it that way. Modern spirituality is about personal meaning, freedom, and then blending the traditions here. So it's less about the institutions and more about what works for your what works for you spiritually. Okay, so global sharing and then interaction of idea enrich this spirituality, making it diverse and then inclusive. So spirituality today is, found in many places: the meditation room, the art studio, right, the social causes, and many more. So it encourages us to be respectful and open to how others seek their spiritual life. So if a friend says, okay, listen carefully here. If your friend says they don't follow a specific religion, but they practice yoga, meditate daily, and try to live, kindly and mindfully, so they are expressing a modern spirituality. So this is a flexible, creative, and then, a personal spiritual path, that many people resonate with today. Okay, so that is the new religious. I mean, not no no, the modern spirituality. Now, last we see the point under this modern spirituality, the pattern and challenges. Okay, what are the pattern and then the challenges in this modern society, in the modern religious movement, in the new religious movement, and then contemporary spiritualities? Let us see the patterns and then challenges. Yeah, Rich. Gil?
Patterns and challenges. Yes, Pastor.
Yes.
Patterns and challenges. Growth and controversy. Although NRM, NRM and modern spiritualities provide viable alternatives, they are usually met with suspicion or synchronity by the society or the government, considering the unorthodox beliefs, secrecy, or charismatic leadership. Globalization and digital communication. The current technology and internet allow the rapid development of innovations, the diffusion and interconnection of NRMs and spiritual movements, which leads to the creation of global communities and innovative forms. Secularization and revi- revivalism. Although it had been foreseen that religion would fade away, in many societies there is a resurgence of religion and secularization through new movements and spiritualities. NRMs and modern spiritualities show how religious concepts change. Diversity and innovative in reaction to the complexities of the modern world thinking tradition and innovation across continents and cultures.
Okay. That is the pattern and then the challenges, in new religious movement and then the modern spiritualities here. Here we see the first point is the growth and controversy here. What happened? Right? What happened? The growth and controversy. What happened? What are the patterns and challenges in new religious movement in the modern and then the modern spiritualities here? See, the new religious movement and then the modern spiritualities are growing as alternative to the traditional religion. Okay. However, society, government, and then even established religions, often view them, with suspicious or, wariness, right? This is because the new religious movements sometimes have unusual belief, their sacred practices, right? Or charismatic leaders, who can strongly influence the followers, right? So those are some of the things that happen here. So if you can imagine, a small group practicing unusual rituals or led by a popular teacher, who claims a special knowledge. So some people may worry about the safety, influence, or the truthfulness, leading to caution or even, the restriction, right? That is very much practical and that is very much usual that we will see. Because unlike, something, okay, now if we are in practice, and then we see there are a lot of, other communities that is growing out, like new movements are coming up. And then in that movement, their practices, some of their practices and rituals, if we see it's very foreign and then very different, then we will automatically feel that, this is very much unbiblical. This is very much, undoctrinal, right? That is how we will, see them in a very suspicious way. And then we will think, or we will, worry about the members who are following those leaders for the safety, right? So, right, seeing all these things, we will have a cautions or even, the restriction here. So that is how, it happens. Those are some of the challenges in these NRMs and then in the modern spiritualities. Now, if you see the second is globalization and digital communication, like the technology and then the globalization. What's new, right? The internet and communication technology have, turbocharged the spread and development of NRMs and then the spiritual movement. So this group can now form a global communities where, members, connect from all over the world, share ideas instantly, and then innovate a new form of spirituality. See, think about how social media, let you join groups based on sheer interests. So even if those groups are thousands of miles away, right? But if you see the description and then if it really, captivate your interest, even if you don't know them, or even if those groups are far away overseas, but we are being connected with this, by this technology, right? So that is how we join the group. So NRMs use this, to build the friendship. They share the teachings and support each other globally. Okay. So that is technology and globalization. That is the pattern to reach out to the people. That is how they do. And the next point is the secularization and revivalism here. Secularization and religious revivalism, we can say. See, for a long time, many believe, religion would simply fade away, as societies become more modern and secular, right? But the rise of NRMs and contemporary spiritualities shows a, resurgence of religion, new forms that respond creatively to modern life changes. So this is like new flower, blooming in a garden where the old plants were, thought to be dying. So religion does not disappear. It changes the shape, right? And it grows in new ways and then mix the old and then the new ideas. So that is the secularization and then the religious, revival. So what does all this mean? Here, what does all this mean? Like the growth and controversy, globalization and digital communication, secularization and revivalism. What does all this means? See, the new religious movement and then the modern spiritualities, show how religious ideas continually evolve as people face the complexity of the modern life, like the cultural changes, technology, and then the global connection here. So they create a bridges, between the traditional belief and then the innovation, like connecting many cultures and ideas across the world. Yeah. So this new religious movement and then spirituality, they face challenges like skepticism and regulation, but yet they grow very fast, right? Thanks, all because of the internet and then the globalization. So despite prediction, religion remains strong but transform, new forms, right? So new forms appear that suit today's social realities. So here, this trend teach us that religion is a living, changing force, not that adapt creatively, across the globe here. Have you ever noticed how people today might, follow meditation, meditation app, online spiritual group, or new, faith communities, different from their parents? So how do you think this might be examples of those ongoing religious changes? All right. So this is the new religious movement and then the contemporary spiritualities. Any confusion? Yes, are you all there? Hello?
Yes, Pastor. We understand, Pastor. We just,
Are you
we will
sure?
just, we just reading again the secularization.
So,
Yes.
can you repeat about the secularization and revivalism? Because I was confused in some part.
Okay. You want me to repeat the secularization and then the revivalism, right?
So,
Okay. Okay, let me try to explain it to you in separate way. First, secularization and then the revivalism, separately. See here, secularization, it refers to the process where religion uh religion loses its influence over various spheres, of the social life. Like some of the key aspects include desacralization, means decline of the sacred due to the rational thought and then the cognitive role of religion being taken over by science. Okay. So, and then now the seeking the original solution for contemporary problems, often leading to a more scientific approach here. So religion become a private affairs, no longer affecting the social relation here. So that is the secularization here. And then if you see the revivalism here, I think revivalism on the other hand, refers to movement that seek to renew the interest and commitment in religious faith. Like, you got it?
yes, Pastor. Now it
So,
was clear
so
for me.
So interestingly, secularization and then this revivalism, can coexist, and then sometimes revivalism emerges as a reaction to secularization. So when societies get modernized, they may experience secularization, right? But this can also lead to a resurgence of religion as people seek identity and meaning. So secularization is about the decline of religious influence, while revivalism is about the renewal of the religious, the fervor and then the commitment. So both concepts are complex and multifaceted, and then their relationship can be, nuanced and then context, dependent. That is what it means here. So here in the point, it talks about secularization and then revivalism. So although it had been, foreseen that religion could fade away, in many societies, there is a resurgence of religion and secularization through new movement and then the spiritualities. Okay.
Okay, Pastor. Thank you. Now it's clear.
So here, secularization and revivalism means, as I had explained earlier, now people we believe that, we think that religion would simply fade away because the world is changing, the society is changing. You know, we are living in now we can say that we are living in a in the stage of technology, right? So as the technologies advances, right? So many believe that religion would simply fade away because when the society become more modern and secular, right? But in that instead we see the rise of the NRMs, and then the contemporary spiritualities shows a resurgence of religion. So religion coming up in a new form, that responds the creativity, or that responds creatively to the modern life challenges. Okay. Now let's see the fundamentalism and religious, revivalism, the causes and then the consequences. All right, Lender.
Yes, Pastor. Fundamentalism and religious revivalism, causes and consequences. Fundamentalism and religious revivalism are reactions to a sense of threat or social transformation or crisis and aim at reasserting or recovering central religious beliefs and practice. They both have far-reaching implications to the society, politics, and individual rights. Religious fundamentalism causes threats to the tradition as they are perceived. Modernization, secularism, and globalization threaten traditional beliefs, and some groups attempt protect their faith by being increasingly strict in their interpretation and application. Identity crisis and alienation. Sometimes social change, urbanization, or migration may result in people feeling displaced and they turn to the fundamentalism groups that provide them with some form of certainty and a sense of belonging. Political or cultural conflict. Fundamentalism is most frequently found in societies where there is a high rate of change, perceived or actual threats to religious groups or political competition. Example, religious nationalism. Response to marginalization. Marginalization can be caused by economic, cultural, or social factors leading to a rise in communities that depend on fundamentalism leadership as the way to be empowered or to revive lost values. Leadership and charisma. Charismatic leaders define a crisis, advance a literalistic return to sacred texts, and rally supporters and on explicit dogmatizing doctrine.
Okay. Okay, here, so what is fundamentalism? Do you know what is fundamentalism? Okay, all right. Listen here. What is religious fundamentalism here? See, fundamentalism is a reaction by some religious group, to perceive threat or major changes in society. So they aims to reassert or recover the central religious belief and practices, often in a very strict or in a very literal form. That is called the religious fundamentalism here. See, fundamentalism, it refers to a strict adherence to the basic principles of any doctrine, okay, whether religious or the ideological. So they involve a strict literal interpretation. Means fundamentalists, believe in a literal interpretation of scripture, dogmas, or ideology. They don't believe in the science. You got it? And then
Yeah.
they have an uncompromising commitment to their belief, often bordering on fanaticism. So these fundamentalists, they emphasize the importance of distinguishing between their own group and then the others, often leading to exclusivist, the tendency here. Okay. Like there are a lot of different, types of fundamentalism, if you see in religious fundamentalism, this includes Christian fundamentalism, like those are emphasizing the literal truth of the Bible and then the traditional Christian belief and all. And then we have the Islamic fundamentalism. They involve a strict adherence to the Islamic law and rejection of the modern interpretation here. And then even we have the Hindu fundamentalism. I think they often link to nationalist movement in India, emphasizing the Hindu identity, their identity. And then we have a Buddhist fundamentalism also. They exist in various forms, sometimes, manifesting as extremist, interpretation of the Buddhist teachings here. Okay, so those are some of the religious fundamentalists here. Okay, now let's see some of the, the things in a general way. The causes of religious fundamentalism. Okay, the first point is talks about the threat to tradition, means threat to tradition as they are perceived. See, many fundamentalist movement arise because people feel their traditional belief and way of life are threatened by the modernization and secularism. Less religion in public life, and then in globalization. So, in response, this group, become, stricter, to protect, what they see as the true faith. See, in the Muslim society today, even in the Muslim society or Islam society, we see a lot of women's, a lot of independent women are, like we see in a lot of independent women's coming up. Yes or no? In so many sectors, both in private and then in the government sectors, right? But there we see that in the Muslim, especially in the Islam tradition, that women's in some of the country, women's they don't have their right. Okay, what they need to do is the women, they need to always wear that burqas, that burqas that a Muslim woman they wear. Are you with me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because I can't see you, okay? Because screen share, only my screen, I can see my only my my face. So kindly you can respond, okay? So that is how, right? But do they ask the, the world can just ask the, as the world become modernized, the way our dressing, that also it's changed, right? So like in a very typical Muslim society, if girls, were seen wearing the jean pants, all the Western clothes and all, they punish them because that is purely against their, that is purely against their principles, right? See, imagine if your family traditions or values were suddenly cautioned or challenged by new ideas everywhere, then some might become very protective or insist on doing things the right way, as they understand, right? So that is how these religious fundamentalists, they see the modernization, secularization, globalization as a threat to the tradition. And then the second point, it talks about the identity crisis and alienation. See, social changes like, moving to cities, urbanization or migration can make people feel lost or isolated here. So this fundamentalist group can offer certainty, clear identity, and belonging to those who feel displaced, right? So think of someone who moves far from their hometown or culture, joining a group with clear rules and beliefs might help them feel, right, at home. Yes or no? So that is the identity crisis and then alienation. Social changes, right? From moving to from rural area to the urban areas, right? Migration. That is how also if we go, this is a new place, new cities, so we will feel lost or isolated, right? So that is how these fundamentalists in a group, they can offer the certainty, clear identity, and then belonging to those who feel displaced. Now, if you see the political and then the cultural conflicts, in religious fundamentalism. See, this fundamentalism often appears where there are rapid changes or competition for power, especially where religious groups feel threatened, politically or culturally. So this is common in places, with the religious, nationalism, or when religion and politics, mix strongly here. So when politics and then the religion mix, some people may feel their faith is under attack and respond by, clinging, more tightly to the traditional ideas. Okay. Now, next point, it responds to the marginalization. See, economic hardship, social exclusion, or cultural marginalization can make communities vulnerable. Right? It is because of the why, we see why among the many poor people, we see, they indulge in a lot of antisocial elements. Why? Because they don't have, they are bored. So that's why, in order to feed their stomach, they are doing all these things, right? Not because they like it, but out of compulsion, right? They go and then, they steal, they snatch the things from here and there, right? So those economic hardship and then the social exclusion or the cultural marginalization, this can make communities very vulnerable. So these fundamentalist leaders, often promise empowerment and revival of lost values to this group. So if people feel pushed aside or ignored by the society, they might turn to strong leaders who promise dignity and return to their roots. So that is a response to marginalization. Now, last is the leadership and charisma. I think, charismatic leaders play a, big role in defining the crisis, okay? Calling for a return to the sacred text and then, relying supporters with firm dogmatic teachings here. So these leaders are, often very persuasive, and offer, simple answer, to complex problems here. So you can think of a popular speaker or leaders in your community, who inspires, people to unite around clear, passionate ideas, even if those ideas exclude others here. Okay. So why does this matter here? The question is, why does this matter? Fundamentalism shapes the social attitude, politics, and then even, laws in many societies. So it can strengthen the group identity, but sometimes, leads to exclusion or tension between the communities. So understanding its causes, help us see why people turn to strict belief, in times of change or crisis here. So I have a question for you. Can you think of example, in news or history, where communities reacted strongly to the rapid changes or feel, threatened, leading to the stricter religious or cultural practices? Have you come across in your country? You can just think it over. An example, whether you have come across in news or, like through the history, where the communities, they got reacted strongly, to some of the, the rapid changes, or maybe that changes has threatened their, maybe their religious order, leading to the stricter religious or the cultural practices.
For me, maybe what's this? The growth of LGBT community here in the Philippines. There's many reaction of the religious institution, and even those Orthodox church and Roman Catholic also. But yes, this is a very greater reaction because uh, some some LGBT they demand that they also actually I saw also this LGBT was married in the other churches, and the other churches react to that sure and what happened. And wow, there's really a great reaction. It's actually threatened the traditional traditional uh, marriage that must be men and women, but in that community they demand, and also they successfully doing it. Uh, they two men married.
Yes. Okay. 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 I got it. I got it. Yes. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And then any other?
Uh, for me, because uh, the government is planning about making subway here in the Philippines. Most of the people are reacting about the subway because uh, Philippines, Manila is prone to have flood many times, even though small rain or just how say, weak thunderstorm, there is this flood. So many people are reacting, and even they come up with rally. So now the subway is still pending, not they are not doing it as of now. So that's what I come up making I can say modernization in the Philippines by making subway or the underground tunnel also and underground train like what you say subway. But they are worrying about flood, but they don't know also about the flood control. And now that is trending here in the Philippines about flood control because there are corrupt contractors here in the Philippines. And now the subway is being raised up also again as a um, trending topic inside the Supreme Court. That's for them.
Okay. Okay, now let's move on to the next point, that is fundamentalism is associated with the consequences. Let's see the consequences of the religious fundamentalism. Okay, who is reading?
Fundamentalism is associated with consequence. Denial of pluralism. Fundamentalist movements tend to reject the validity of other religious beliefs and insist on their version of the truth in the religion. Social and political tension. Doctrinal conformity may turn intolerant, exclusionary, and may even result in communal or even political violence. Freedom of speech action. The teachings of fundamentalism may curtail the right of people, particularly women, minorities,
Yes, you can
dissident,
read.
dissidents, with the imposition of patriarchal norms and restraining of independence is a frequent report. Gender and sexuality impact. Women and minorities could experience certain discrimination, such as restrictions on sexual and reproductive rights, decreased autonomy, and violence. Opposition to modern reform. Fundamentalists tend to resist educational change, gender equality, and scientific progression that seems to clash with their understanding of religion. That's all, Pastor.
Okay. So here under the consequences of religious fundamentalism, the first point it talks about the denial of pluralism, right? See, this fundamentalist group usually reject the legitimacy of any other religious belief or interpretation aside, from their own. So they insist their understanding of the religion, alone is true. So leaving no room for diversity of faith or opinions here. So imagine if you see a group, that says only our ways is right, and then views others as wrong or even dangerous. So this attitude can create a division in multi, religious society. Yes or no? That is the consequences of those, the religious fundamentalism. That is their denial of pluralism. What all they say is right. What all the other believe is wrong, and then it is very dangerous. That is what the consequences, of the religious fundamentalism. And then another consequences is the social and political tension. See, the demand for strict, adherence to belief can lead to intolerance, right? Discrimination, and then even violent conflict between different, religious or the social groups. So this tension sometimes, escalates into political violence or the communal rights. So think of conflicts, in places where religious or ethnic group, clash because one side refuses to accept the other's, existence or rights, right? So this is also one of the, the consequences of the the religious fundamentalism. And then another consequences is the restriction on, freedom of speech and action. See, fundamentalist, teachings often limit personal freedoms, especially, targeting the women, minorities, or dissenting, voices within the group. So this can include, enforcing strict, dress code, limiting the speech, or restricting the social roles, right? See, consider, stories where women or minorities face harsh rule, limiting their education or career choices. Why? Because of, due to the religious laws. Okay, all those religious laws are against their freedom, right? Freedom of speech, for the women or the minorities. Okay, so these are some of the, consequences that which we see. That is, the restriction on freedom of speech and then action. And then in the next four, we see the gender and then the sexuality impact. See, women and the sexual, minorities often bear the burden of fundamentalist, restriction because they used to limit on their ability to make decision about their own bodies or life. Discrimination is, in legal or in, social treatment. And then in extreme cases, violence or severe social control. See, imagine, a communities where women are not allowed to drive or, attend the school, or where LGBTQ plus, people faces persecution, right? So because these fundamentalists, they are purely on the principles of their faith teachings. So when we come to like, of course, this LGBTQ plus, they are also the fighting for their rights. But whereas this religious group, when we see in our religious teachings, in the practices, this is purely against, against the scripture. That is how we will never accept that one, right? But in the secular governance, right, it is run with a balance. Yes or no? So sometimes, the government, come up with some of the agendas in relate to giving some rights to the LGBTQ, where in that, the religious group will come out, agitating against all those, the laws, right? So fundamentalists, religious fundamentalists, these are, sometimes, in that way, in the religious order, this LGBTQI plus is not accepted. Okay. So those kind of, the imbalance and then situation, the consequences arises in the some of the consequences of the religious fundamentals. And then the next is about the opposition to modern reform. Opposition to modern reform here. See, these fundamentalists, they generally resist the changes in education, the gender equality, and then the scientific, discoveries, if seen as a threat to their religious belief. So this resistance can, slow societal progress or cause, conflict with the government and then the civil society's effort. Like if you think about a debate over evolution in school or women's right in countries, where fundamentalist views dominant public policy here. See, in summary here, fundamentalism can deeply affect societies by limiting the acceptance of diversity, promoting conflict, and restricting the freedom. So it often imposes traditional roles, especially on women and marginalized, challenging the modern ideas about the right and the equality. So understanding these consequences help us recognize, the social complexity, when fundamentalist movement grow. Okay. See, how might, living in a society where only one religious view is accepted, that will affect different groups. Yes or no? Especially women or minorities. So that is what it is talking about here. Right? That is the fundamentalism, is associated with the consequences here. Right? So okay, one of you read the religious revivalism was caused by factor, or we can say the causes of the religious revivalism.
Religious revivalism was caused by factors. Social uncertainty, the social phenomena of urbanization, migration, and inequality cause uncertainty, and this makes people find a way to ground themselves in religious traditions. Media and technology. Revivalism is boosted by the contemporary communication, and religious organization becomes more visible and stronger in institutions. Political use of religion. In certain settings, revivalisms employ religion to reorganize communities towards political and cultural goals. Response to secularism or westernization in quest search of authenticity and roots, revivalist appeals to the return to foundational books and pure traditions are common.
Okay. Okay, here these are some of the four causes of the religious revivalism. The first cause is the loss, social uncertainty. See, rapid social changes like urbanization, people moving from countryside to the cities, or migration, and rising inequality. This create a feelings of insecurity and then instability here. So in response, many people, they seek to ground themselves in familiar religious tradition for comfort and then the identity. See, imagine, moving to a big city, where everything feels unfamiliar and confusing. So turning to religion can help you find a sense of community and stability. Yes or no? That is the causes of the religious, the revivalism here. See, if you go to any other place, if you come to India, there's no one that you know, right? So now what you will do? You will go to church. You will search like our own, the, the the people, right? So turning to the religion, so it can help you find a sense of community and then the stability. Yes or no? So that is the cause of religious revivalism. The first, the social uncertainty, and then the media and technology here. See, modern communication technologies like the TV, radio, and then the internet, make religious message more visible and accessible. So this help religious movement spread faster and become stronger institution here, like us today, right? Through this, the technology today, right? Our embassy, this Messenger Bible College, it has reached out to the many countries, right? Then that is how we have been, connected, and then that is how you all are getting the chicory from here, without spending the money for a visa. Yes or no? Save, right? Save of money, and then from where, in your own comfort zone, right? In your own comfort base, right? See how think about how social media or TV channels, can make religious leaders and communities more influential, connecting them to millions, right? So that's our the media. That's are some of the, uh, the causes of the religious revivalism. Now, next is the political use of religion. See, in some societies, this revivalist group, use religion to mobilize people for their political or their cultural goals, right? So religion become a tool to unite communities around, shared identities or agendas here. So imagine a leader, who uses religious festival or sermons or samples, to bring people together, for a political cause or a social movement, right? So still, in the Constantinople era, I think in our last class also we have seen, right? So in his dream, he saw the sign of a Christian, right? And that is how, through him, I don't know whether he did it for his political gain, whether he had any other agenda that we don't know. But it is because of during his time, that Christianity was recognized as an official state religion. Yes or no? Right. So political use of religion, that is, I just put the example here. Okay. Now, the next cause is the response to secularism or westernization here. Response to secularism or westernization here. See, many revivalist movement arise, as a reaction against secular or the Western cultural influence, that some see as threatening and then the traditional values here. See, people long for a return to their authentic roots, right? Turning back to foundational religious texts and pure tradition. See, you just consider, the desire to go back to our true self, or, protect our religion from outside influence. So which motivates many to revive all practices here. Right? Today in our society here, I'm talking about in my context here, right? Many of our people, many of the youngsters today, they don't know how to write our own, script, because of too much of the, too much hype of this, the change of modernization. I think they forget their roots. Okay. And then we see in our society, there are some people, they don't know how to speak out their own mother tongue. They speak English very well. They speak, the common language which we spoke here very well. But their own traditional, the language, they cannot speak. That kind of, the situations are also is there. Because of too much response to the secularism or the westernization, they forgot their own root, right? So these are some of the, the things that now today the societies is trying to, educate them in order to know their roots, right? So which is, which motivates many to revive the old practices here. Okay. See, revivalism happens, when people want stability and then a meaning in certain, in a very uncertain times. So modern tech, help spread revivalist idea quickly and then widely. Today, what is happening, in the South Africa, there are a lot of, we see the preachers. What they are preaching, we see it through the YouTube. We can see, as if even if we don't go and attend the live meeting, but still then, their message are being spread widely across the technology, right? Where, even at the, the farthest part of the, the globe, sitting can also just, click and then listen, right? See, religion can be a, rallying force for political or cultural identity. So this revivalism often calls people, back to original religious purity, as a response to rapid social change. Right. So whenever you join for your theological studies here, our subjects, first we go back to our roots, right? First we go and then see the Old Testament and then the New Testament. That is how, first, we see the backgrounds. We go back and then we try to, know about our history, right? That is how systematically, the courses of the seminary are being structured, right? See, can you think, okay, listen, can you think of a religious or cultural movement in recent history where people turn back to older tradition in response to major, societal changes or threat? Have you come across? Yes or no?
So can you repeat your question? I cannot.
Uh,
Hmm.
can you think of a religious or cultural movement in recent history, okay, history, where people turn back to the older tradition, in response to the major societal changes or, which they find it threat?
Don't know, Pastor.
It's very common. One of the things, like, see, these days, the Korean cultures, spreading all around the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, many youngsters are influenced with all those cultures. So in one way, I don't, I'm not against the Korean culture, but I'm just bringing the ideas, to enlighten, for us to understand here. See, in here, many youngsters, they know more about the Korean culture. They don't know about their root. You got it? So
Yes, Pastor.
it become a threat in one way, right? So they try to learn more about, right? Even if, like, now they are singing. I see the people here. They are singing Korean songs. But whereas, they don't know a single their own, the traditional or maybe their own local dialect song. And this is just, an example, not against of the Korean culture. They are doing good. Like them, the Korean culture. We should also know our culture. That is how we should also, like expose that one the people to see, right? I'm
Yes, yes.
just bringing the
Yes.
nearest example to help our point. Okay, help our point. So if I say that one, don't take it that the Korean cultures are wrong, but just for I just feel that that is the nearest example here. They are really doing good, but here in order to help our point, I'm just bringing the Korean tradition here. See, many parents, now, like that is a trait because they don't know their roots, but whereas, the culture, which is far away from our home, they are practicing that one, right? So those are some of the, like, those can be some of the examples. All right, consequences of revivalism. Lanto.
Consequences of revivalism, giving the religious identity more strength, introduces a new level of interest and dedication to religion, and this translates to increased institutional involvement and spiritual engagement. Conservatism and exclusion, ability to generate conservative reaction to apparent influences of outsiders, occasionally to the exclusion of minority opinions or behavior. Social-political change. Revivalist vitality sometimes propels political action or has a state policy impact. Community cohesion and divisions strengthens more connected relationships among the believers, yet may cause divisions between them and confront the secular or pluralist social order.
Okay, now let's stop the sharing and then let's just you can listen. The consequences of this religious revivalism. Okay, we will see the consequence. What are the consequences of this religious revivalism here? The first point, it talks about the strengthening the religious identity. See, revivalism often increases interest and dedication to religion, so leading to more people actively participating in religious institution and then the spiritual practices here. So this renewed commitment can energize communities and bring deeper personal faith. Yeah. So imagine a group of people who start attending church or temple more regularly, so feeling a strong sense of belonging and then purposes, right? So that is strengthened, and that is a strengthening the religious identity. So those are the consequences of the religious revivalism. And then another is the conservatism and exclusion here. See, revivalist movement may react strongly against the outside or the modern influence by promoting a conservative values. So this can sometimes exclude or marginalize, minority view or behavior, seen as a different or outside, the outside the group norms. See, you can just think about the communities, that resist a new ideas of lifestyle in order to protect their tradition. So sometimes, even pushing aside, those who don't fit in, right? There are still a group of people. So now today, what the people, the parents, today, the young parents, now they are teaching their children, you know, teaching their children from a very young age about the Bible. They are teaching, in order to let them very in that environment, in order to discipline them. Yes or no? Right? They are not giving like today's the parents, they are not letting the babies to use the mobile. I think it's a very common culture that we see everywhere we go. The babies, in order to feed the food also, if they will just open the tap, and then open some garden, and then feed. Now it become habit that baby, unless and until the debt is been blessed before them, the babies are not eating food, right? Those are just some of the example I'm just sharing. Okay, so now how the parenting, now the young parents, they have understood, how to do the parenting. In some section we see that the parents, many of the parents were very negligent about that one. But today the young parents are very much aware of all the causes, what will happen as the baby grows older, right? I'm not giving you in a religious example, okay? I'm just giving you in some general viewpoints, okay? Very general. Now, another point is the socio-political change. Revivalist energy can inspire the political movement or influence the government policies, especially where religion play a major role in the society. So sometimes this religious group use revivalism to shape the laws or the social norms. Like consider a movement where religious leaders become political figure or advocate for laws that reflect the religious values. Okay, so that is the point here. It talks about the social political change. And then the last point it talks about is the community cohesion and then the social division here. See, revivalism can build stronger bond among believers, creating a sense of unity and shared purpose. But however, it can also create division between religious groups and challenge, the secular or pluralistic social system that values the diversity. And that we have been discussing from the beginning here. If the country is run according to the religious author of a majority group, then how about the minority? Minority will surely suffer. And then that will create that will challenge the secular or the pluralistic, social system. Instead of, living in peace, it will bring a division among the different religious group of the people. So imagine a neighborhood, where one group become very close-knit, but this closeness make them, less open or even hostile towards the neighbors of the different belief. Are you getting the point? So here in my summary here, this revivalism, makes religion a more powerful force in people's life. Okay, and then it can protect, tradition, but may exclude or marginalize, the outsiders or minorities. So revivalism can impact politics and then even in the social policies here. So it builds stronger religious communities, but may lead to social division. Okay, if we are not balanced in that one. If we always think that, okay, I'm a Christian, so I should always go and meet only the Christian friends, then, indirectly that is creating a division, right? Because you are not mingling with those with the non-Christian people. You're only, searching, the neighbors, your neighbors who are of the same faith. Automatically it becomes a division, right? Whereas we need to be balanced. So sometimes, our action should not be too much in religious. Sometimes we need to balance secular ideas, right? That is how, in our ministry also we need to be very much careful. Okay. So in next class, we will see the secularism and its variants, okay? Both the Western and then the non-Western models. We have 2 topics left. So can we meet tomorrow? Just to complete these 2 topics? Not in the evening? All
Tomorrow,
right, let
Pastor,
me
we cannot.
let off our live stream first.